Okay, we are back. Thank you for joining, y'all. All right, next we are on chapter 4, which is infection control. Infection control starts the foundation for scientific concepts. You got to know about decontamination. All right, now this is very detailed and it's very detailed, but we are going to skim through. But please, please, please be sure to go back and go over a lot of this content in your book. This is for my students. Okay. All right. So, why study infection control? Because it is important to know about the pathogens. Understanding and practicing proper infection control within the laws and rules will help safeguard your health, the health of your clients, and your business. It is also important to respect the procedures for handling chemicals um, by reading labels and following manufacturer's instructions. Next, practicing safety precautions on a daily basis protects you and your clients and your license. And a responsible professional barber is conscientious about infection control and safety. And another thing that they're not really telling you, people cannot wait to try to sue you in this business because they're going to try to sue you and they're going to try to sue the shop. So they're going to try to sue you twice. They're trying to get money out of you twice if you're not following rules and regulations and doing what you need to do. All right. Okay, first, let's talk about federal agencies. You have OSHA, which stands for Occupational Safety and Health Administration. All right, what are they responsible for? The Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970, which created the HCS, which is the Hazard Communication Standard. From that came Material Safety Data Sheets, which are MSDSs. All right, from there, they complied with the globally harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemicals system, GHS. This created label standards to be used around the world and includes the use of certain pictograms to indicate a possible safety concern. Certain things like, health hazard, flammable, corrosion, the skull and crossbones, saying that something may be fatal or toxic material, flammable, things like that. That comes from OSHA, and they established all of that stuff. With that being said, the material safety data sheet just became the safety data sheet. It replaced it. All right. And the HCS Act 1983 gave workers the right to know, but the new GHS gives workers the right to understand. All right. All of that is dealing with OSHA. All right. Thank you for joining the live. What's up, Smitty? What's up, Smitty? What's up, bro? All right. Next, you got the Environmental Protection Agency, which is the EPA. What are they responsible for? They register all types of disinfectants sold and used in the United States. All right. What are disinfectants? They are chemical products that destroy most bacteria, excluding spores, fungi, and viruses on surfaces. Okay. You got two types that are used in the shop that concern us, which are the hospital level disinfectants, excuse me, and tuberculocidal disinfectants. All right. The biggest thing with the EPA, they say, look, if you have a product and it has a label like Clippercide or Barbercide on the back of it, it whatever it says it does, make sure it actually does that. That's what they mean by efficacy. Okay. The EPA deals with the efficacy of products, which is its effectiveness. If it says it kills 99.9% of germs, it better kill 99.9% of germs, or somebody is going to get sued really, really bad. Okay. If it says it's only an antiseptic, then it needs to do what it says it does. It needs to be as effective as it says it is. All right. So the EPA is responsible for that. Okay. And for something to be referred to as an EPA level disinfectant, basically it just says it's killing tuberculosis, it's killing fungi, it's killing bacteria. It'll have all that on the bottle, right? So I mean on the packaging, it'll say tuberculocidal, virucidal, fungicidal, anything else that it can kill, that it'll kill, and it will do what it says that it does. Okay. Thank you for joining the live, y'all. All right. You got state regulatory agencies. They exist to protect barbers and their customers' health and safety while they receive services. State regulatory agencies include licensing agencies, state barber boards, commissions, and health departments. Regulatory agencies require that everyone working on consumers in a barbershop follow specific procedures. Enforcement of the rules through inspections and investigations of consumer complaints is also part of an agency's responsibility. An agency can issue penalties against both the shop owner and the barber licenses. All right. So that's two. If State Board came in and had a problem with me, they can penalize me as the shop owner, and they can penalize me as a barber in the shop if I was doing something wrong. All right. Penalties vary and include warnings, fines, probation, and suspension or revocation of licenses. It is vital that you understand and follow the laws and rules of your state at all times. Your professional reputation, your license, and your client safety depend on it. So here's the thing for you barbers. If State Board come and you're doing something that you ain't supposed to do, you're not just affected. Everybody in that shop is affected. The shop itself is affected. Anybody that works at that shop is affected. If it has a manager there, the manager there is affected. That's for you barbers that ain't trying to get your license and just sitting around here trying to avoid State Board and trying to cut hair. We call it cutting dirty. You don't have your license. You're not trying to get your license. And basically State Board can come in and just off of you not doing what you're supposed to do, they can shut that whole shop down. So now if you got other people that's in that shop, well, here's the thing. Now they can't eat. Now they can't make their money, and they can't provide for their family and earn their livelihood simply because you doing something wrong. State Board has that. They have that right. Okay. So that's just something to think about. Okay, laws and rules. What's the difference? Laws are written by both federal and state legislatures that determine the scope of practice and establish guidelines for regulatory agencies to make rules. Laws are also called statutes. Rules and regulations are more specific than laws. The regulatory agency or State Board writes the rules and determines how the law must be applied. They establish specific standards of conduct and can be changed or updated frequently. It is the barber's responsibility to be aware of any changes to the rules and regulations and to comply with them. Ignorance of the law is not an acceptable reason or excuse for non-compliance. And trust me, if they want to revoke your license off of you saying, oh, well, I didn't know. It's your job to know. It is your job to know. Straight like that. Okay, infection control refers to the methods used to eliminate or reduce the transmission of infectious organisms. Barbers must understand and remember the following 4 types of potentially harmful organisms or pathogens. You have bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites. Bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites. Okay. Bacteria, single-celled microorganisms. They have both plant and animal characteristics. Okay. You got 2 types of bacteria. You got non-pathogenic and pathogenic. Non-pathogenic is harmless. It actually helps you and it helps your body. Pathogenic is harmful. They can cause disease or infection in humans when they invade the body. Okay. You got 3 classifications of pathogenic bacteria. You got cocci, bacilli, spirilla. Cocci, round shape, bacilli or rod shape, spirilla or spiral, hence the term spirilla. Okay. Within the cocci family, you have 3 of those. You got staphylococci, streptococci, diplococci. Staphylococci can cause like staph infection. Streptococci look like beads. They call strep throat. Diplococci are spherical. They grow in pairs and they cause diseases such as pneumonia. Okay. Another thing about bacteria growth, they have an active stage and they got an inactive stage. So what happens is when in the active stage, they got everything that they need. They have dirt, they got grime, they got warmth, they got moisture. Okay. Bacteria are going to grow like crazy and they're going to reproduce and reproduce and reproduce. Okay. They reproduce off themselves. So it's called binary fission and they divide into daughter cells. Okay. In the inactive stage, what they do, they have a wax-like covering called spores. which disinfectants do not kill. Sterilization only kills spores. All right. Completely sterile, meaning cleaning everything 100%. Okay. Disinfectants do not kill bacterial spores, but spores are the wax-like covering that bacteria put over themselves until they can get to an environment where they can grow and reproduce again. All right. Viruses. Viruses, submicroscopic particle, infects and resides in the cells of a biological organism. Virus capable of replication only through taking over the host cell's reproductive function. They have to take over their reproductive function. That's how a virus stays active. Okay. One difference between viruses and bacteria is that a virus can live and reproduce only by taking over other cells and becoming part of them. Bacteria can live and reproduce on their own. Okay. Next, you have fungi, single cell organisms that can grow in irregular masses that include molds, mildews, and yeast. They can produce contagious diseases such as ringworm. Ringworm is a fungus. Okay. The most frequently encountered fungal infection resulting from hair surfaces is Tinea barbi, also known as Barber's itch. Superficial, caused by a variety of dermatophytes that commonly affects the skin. It is primarily limited to the bearded areas of the face and neck and or around the scalp. Tinea barbi is similar to Tinea capitis, a fungal infection of the scalp characterized by red papules or spots at the opening of hair follicles. Both of those, tinea just means ringworm. So Tinea barbi is ringworm of the face and neck through the beard. Tinea capitis is the ringworm of the scalp area. Both of them are in the fungi category. Okay. Or fungi. I say them both. Until somebody comes and corrects me, I'm going to be saying fungi. Okay. Parasites. Organisms grow, feed, and shelter on or inside another organism, as referred to as a host, while contributing nothing to the survival of that organism. They must have a host to survive, but they have, unlike a virus, they can be on or inside. They don't take over the reproductive function. They just take over look at it like somebody being in your house. They gotta be in your house or around your house. That's the difference. Okay. All right. Parasites can live on or inside of humans and animals. They also can be found in food, on plants and trees, and in water. Humans can acquire internal parasites by eating fish or meat that has not been properly cooked. External parasites that affect humans on or in the skin include ticks, lice, fleas, and mites. The ones that matter to us are head lice and scabies. Head lice, a type of parasite responsible for contagious diseases and conditions. One condition caused by an infestation of head lice is called pediculosis capitis. Once again, capitis, talking about that scalp. Pediculosis are those mites, head lice. You can look it up. Thankfully, I'm gonna knock on wood, I've never had a problem with head lice, and my clients have never had a problem with head lice. But if you want to see it, just look it up. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's see. Immunity. You got two types of immunity: natural immunity, acquired immunity. Natural immunity, partly inherited and partly developed through healthy living. Acquired immunity is immunity that the body develops after overcoming a disease through inoculation or through exposure to natural allergens. So an example of acquired immunity that I give people is like chicken pox. So you have chicken pox for a week, it drive you nuts, absolutely insane. And then you develop an acquired immunity for chicken pox. And, once again, knock on wood, you don't get it anymore. Okay. All right. Decontamination is the process of removing all dirt, debris, pathogens from surfaces, primarily non-porous surfaces that mean that can't absorb moisture. So think your average tabletop, think Barber stations, think things of that nature. Okay. walls, things like that. All right. Okay. Sterilization is the process that destroys all microbial life, including bacterial spores, which we talked about. Okay. Let's talk about cleaning and disinfecting. There are differences. Okay. Cleaning is a mechanical process. You are scrubbing. You are doing a movement back and forth to clean something up, right? To think like sweeping the floor, or think like after you wash dishes that you're wiping. Well, think washing dishes. That's a good one. Or just rinsing the dishes and just kind of getting some of the grime and things like that loose off of there without using a chemical product yet. Kind of like pre-washing before you put it in the dishwasher, something like that. Okay. Remember that when you clean, you must remove all visible dirt and debris from tools, implements, and equipment by washing them with liquid soap and warm water, and by using a clean and disinfected brush to scrub. When a surface is properly cleaned, the number of contaminants on the surface is greatly reduced, not destroyed. Greatly reduced. Big difference. Okay. In turn, this reduces the risk of infection. This is why cleaning is an important part of disinfecting tools and equipment. A surface must be properly cleaned before it is properly disinfected. Using a disinfectant without cleaning first is like using mouthwash without brushing your teeth. It does not work properly. All right. Good point. All right. Now, that's different from disinfecting, which is the second step of infection control. Remember that disinfection is the process that eliminates most, but not necessarily all, microorganisms on non-porous surfaces. So if cleaning was sweeping the floor, disinfecting would be mopping the floor. Okay, big difference. All right. This process, however, is not effective against bacterial spores. We will say it again. This process is not effective against bacterial spores. All right. In the barbershop, disinfection is extremely effective in controlling microorganisms on surfaces such as shears, clippers, and other multi-use tools and equipment. A disinfectant used in the shop should carry an EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, an EPA registration number. We talked about the EPA earlier. All right. And the label should clearly state the specific organisms the solution is effective against when used according to the manufacturer's product instructions. All right. Don't forget that. Okay. All right. Yeah, a lot of the rest of the chapter is just disinfecting non-electrical tools, disinfecting containers, disinfecting electrical tools and equipment, disinfecting work surfaces, cleaning towels, linens, and capes, multi-use products, antiseptics, hand washing. I mean, a lot of that stuff becomes common sense, but the biggest thing that comes from chapter 4 is about those bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, differences between clean and disinfectant, the different levels of disinfection, sterilization, all of it being on the one umbrella of decontamination. Okay. All right. Anything else here? No. Okay. And chapter 5, implements, tools, and equipment. So knowing about combs teeth. You got different types of combs. You got hard rubber combs, carbon, you got graphite combs, you got metal combs. All of them have their different advantages. Okay. Comb teeth. Spacing between the teeth of the comb varies with the style of the comb. Many are designed with fine or narrow teeth at one end and coarse or wide at the other end. Those are referred to as barber combs. You got different types of combs. Okay. You got a styling all-purpose comb. You got a taper comb, flat handle comb, wide tooth comb, tail comb, and a hair pick. And most of the combs are between 7 to 8 inches long in length. Okay, with the shape that may be straight, tapered, or handled. And another thing about the comb, the teeth, the rounded teeth tend to be better, and they tend to be more comfortable than cheaply made combs that's got them damn square teeth that I hate. Okay. Shears. You got two types of shears. You got the cast shears. You got the forward shears. Cast shears made by heating steel to a liquid form for pouring into a mold. Forward shears made by working heated metal into a finished shape through the process of hammering or compression. All right, basic parts of a hair cutting shear. You got the moving point, the moving point, the moving blade. You got the steel point and the steel blade. The moving point is going to be operated by your thumb. The steel blade is going to be held by your fingers, okay, with the pinky on the finger brace or on the finger brace that are made with most shears, okay. You got the cutting edges that you put together to actually cut the hair, the pivot screw, the finger grip, the finger brace. The shank is the space between the, okay, let me say it this way. The shank connects the finger grip and the finger brace to the blade on both ends. So the shanks will be in between, and the shanks will come together as well when you bring your fingers together, when you're bringing them together so you can cut. All right. Now that's the shank on the shears. The shank is different for a razor, and it serves a different purpose on the razor. Okay. That's the best way I can put it. All right. You have, let's see. You got blade edges. You got convex and you got bevel. Convex got very sharp edges. Bevel edges has serrated edges. Convex glides through hair. They cuts the hair shaft cleanly, less tension when used when cutting. The bevel edge holds hair on the blade edge. It reduces its slippage. It grips hair shaft for cutting. More tension used when cutting. All right. You got different designs of shears, and the biggest thing with those is what's comfortable for you. And you have to say to yourself, all right, if I was to use these all day, would my hands be hurting? Would my wrists be tired? Would my fingers be hurting and aching, or will they not? So whatever shear works best for you, so you can feel comfortable after a long day of using them, that's the shears that you should get. And they got different designs to accommodate for that. All right. Next, you got texturizing, thinning, and blending shears. They are designed with blades that have teeth, varying widths and distances between them. The wider the spacing of the teeth, the more hair is removed during cutting. Okay. And for an example, you can just look it up on YouTube. Just, look up thinning shears, blending shears, or texturizing shears. They all are technically the same thing. Okay. Brushes, styling brushes used to control, smooth, wave, or add fullness to the hair. Choice of bristle, texture, space, and material will depend on the hair texture. Most hair brushes are manufactured with plastic, rubber, wood, or metal bases, with natural, synthetic, combined, or metal bristles. They are available in a variety of shapes and sizes for different purposes. So you got synthetic brushes, natural brushes, mixed bristles, paddle brush, round brush, vented brush, wet brush, fade brush, duster brush. All of them are defined by having bristles, but the question is, what are the bristles used for? So of course, a neck duster or a duster brush is not going to be able to brush your hair. And another thing too, a fade brush ain't going to be used to, if somebody got long hair that comes down, say to their shoulder, or comes down to their torso or whatever. You're not going to use a fade brush for that. You're going to use probably a paddle brush, or a paddle brush for something like that. If somebody is at the neckline and you're trying to dry the hair at the neckline, okay, you're going to use a round brush for that. So basically, just look up the different types of brushes and what their purposes are for. There are different types of brushes for different things. Okay. Let's see what else we got. You got the clippers, of course. Clippers, outliners also known as trimmers. Visible parts of a clipper they vary depending on whether the unit is a detachable blade or an adjustable blade, and whether it is corded or rechargeable. All right. Electric clippers are driven by one of three basic motor types: rotary, pivot, or magnetic. And you can same thing. You can do a little research, do a little more reading just to see the very specific parts of clippers. But we all know what clippers are. Okay. Next, you got trimmers or outliners. An outliner uses either a magnetic or a pivot motor. Now some of them use rotary motors as well. I'm not a big fan of them, but they are powerful. Outliners have very fine cutting blades that require very little pressure against the skin to be effective cutting tools. As a matter of fact, using too much pressure can cause skin irritations, abrasions, and even ingrown hair. So use a light hand and let the tool do the work, as we like to say. All right. You got different kinds. You got cordless and you got corded. Okay. Then, of course, you're dealing with blades and guards, clipper blades and trimmer blades, usually made of high quality carbon steel or ceramic, and are available in a variety of styles and sizes. Some styles are designed for use with detachable blade clippers. Others serve as replacement blades for specific adjustable blade clipper models. All right. Next, you got straight razors. Okay. Sharpest and closest cutting tool, razors used for facial shaves, head shaves, neck shaves, finish work around the sideburn and behind the ear areas, and hair cutting. The razor of choice for professional barbering is the straight razor. Safety razors are not used to perform barbering services in the shop. You got two types of straight razors. You have the changeable blade straight razor and you have the conventional straight razor. Both may be purchased with a razor guard for use in razor cutting the hair. That's if you're doing layers. Okay. All right. Parts of a straight razor. You have the handle. You have the tang. The tang is where you put your pinky. Okay. You have the pivot. You have the shank. And again, the shank is the middle space between the heel and the pivot. Okay. But you have the shank, the heel, the shoulder, the back, the blade, the edge, the head, the point. Those are the parts of the razor. All right. Let's see what else we got. Considering razor quality, you look at things like the razor balance, the razor temper, the razor grind. Certain razors got a concave grind, others have a wedge grind. It really just depends on the quality of the razor that you're getting and the amount, how heavy work are you trying to do with the razor? Because sometimes you may not need the wedge, you may not need the full concave, and you can use a wedge. But I like a full concave razor personally. All right. You got hones. Hones is where you sharpen a traditional razor blade. You got the strop. Strop is for finishing the blade. I always tell people it's like The Color Purple, where she was that's stropping the blade. Okay. Honing the blade is like the little stone and you doing that over and over and over, trying to grind that blade down. All right. Next, you got equipment, barber chair. So barber chair, essential piece of equipment for performing barbering services, should not be confused with a styling chair. Styling chairs are typically small in design, do not usually have a headrest. Okay. Barber chairs are available with either hydraulic or motorized bases, usually hydraulic, but both types provide easy height adjustment of the chair. The circumference of the base should be large and heavy enough to accommodate a man's weight without tipping when the customer is in a fully reclined position. All right. Next, you got drapes and capes, two main types. You got shampoo capes, they're waterproof. You got haircutting capes, they're made of nylon or other synthetic materials. These draping fabrics are usually more comfortable for the client because they do not hold in as much body heat as vinyl capes. Okay. You got towels and linens, of course. Common sense will tell you keep maintenance on them, wash them, dry them, put them in a place of storage that has holes in it so the air can get to them. Pretty simple. All right. Appliances used in barbering services. You got the hot towel cabinet, latherizers. Latherizers produce the shaving cream. You got different kinds. You got the electric latherizer, the press button can latherizer that you can just buy at any store. And then you got lather mugs, is where you put you use your shaving soap and you use your warm water and you mix it up. Okay. All right. Lather brushes is what you use to actually put the lather on the face. So you got some that are like 1.5 inches big, something like that. And just think of them old school lather brushes that you see. They got many versions of them. I like the many versions of them because I can still cover a lot of area, but it's not messy because it's not so big. Okay. Blow dryers. Blow dryer electrical appliance designed for drying and styling hair in a single operation. Standard parts include a handle, directional nozzle, small fan, heating element, speed, and heat controls. Okay, I'm pretty sure anybody that is around a woman knows what we're talking about when we talk about blow dryers. Okay, it's that simple. If you don't have one, I know somebody in your household has one, especially the women in your household. Somebody has a blow dryer. All right, so it ain't too much to that. Okay, you got the electric massager, an electric appliance using facial, scalp, shoulder massage services. You can look it up. Thermal styling tools. You got thermal irons. Okay, you got different kinds, variety of style, sizes, and weight, small to large barrel diameters. You got some that you plug up that are electric. You got some that you got to use an old school stove, and you're using like Marcel irons. All right. Okay. Electrotherapy and light therapy machines. You have a high frequency machine, uses electricity to produce a high rate of oscillation with glass electrodes. You have a galvanic machine. It's an apparatus with attachments designed to produce galvanic current. Once again, just YouTube this stuff and you'll see what we're talking about. All right, two more accessories. You got a comedone extractor, which just means blackheads. It press out blackheads. Metallic implement with a screw-on attachment at each end. Fine needle point or lancet is situated at one end. The opposite end has a blunt prong with a hole in the center. Then you have tweezers. Everybody know what tweezers are. Tweezers is a metallic implement with two blunt prongs at one end that is used to pluck unsightly or ingrown hair. Make sure you have these, well, not necessarily the comedone extractor, but definitely have a pair of tweezers in your arsenal, okay? All right, that completes all chapters 1 through 5 cumulative review. For my students, I will be getting a quiz together. That quiz will be emailed to you before day's end. Just be looking for it. But yeah, next chapter will be anatomy and physiology. That's when we start to get to the good stuff. It, like I said, is very, very, very detailed. The key to that one and all the other scientific concepts is just taking the material slow and breaking it down into very, very, very small pieces. So that's something that we'll be doing. We'll be going over. We are going to spend a lot of time in anatomy and physiology, okay? Because it is that important. Just knowing what all of those different things are puts you in a better position. Even if you don't know the question, you can arrive at a very well-educated guess with that. All right. That being said, everybody on my social media, on my YouTube, on my TikTok, I am your instructor, Pierre Huey. The P stands for patience. I will see y'all next time. Peace.